According to Navigate Minnesota, which is a nonprofit that was founded more than 10 years ago to help undocumented families, there are more than 190,000 mixed status families here in our state. Those folks do not qualify for federal or state benefits like receiving stimulus checks, even during a time of pandemic like this one. But the city of Minneapolis says it is now ready to step in to ease some of that burden for those folks, even though they're undocumented.
We have several moments of clarity through this global pandemic.
Up until recently, Executive Director of Navigate Minnesota, Amelia Gonzalez Avalos, was undocumented.
I recently became a legal permanent resident after waiting for 20-some years to become one.
So she says she knows what it feels like to slip deeper into the shadows, especially when people need help the most.
People with an ITIN number who have been working undocumented in the country for many, many years have been able to put in their dollars and contribute to the well-being and the tax amounts that is covering for all kinds of costs in the country, but they are not eligible to get any of that support system in return, and especially now in times of global pandemic.
Yes, an ITIN, or an individual taxpayer identification number, is issued to ensure everyone, even undocumented immigrants, pay taxes. But that doesn't mean they qualify to receive stimulus checks. Without a social security number, many undocumented immigrants also don't qualify for other state benefits.
I am talking about the unemployment insurance. Undocumented people do not qualify for that. I am talking about Section 8 or housing or any kind of cash support. Undocumented people do not qualify for that.
That's up until last Friday. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey introduced the city's GAP funding plan, which in part helps with housing. Families living in Minneapolis making 30% or less of the area median income and have experienced a, quote, significant loss of income due to COVID-19 qualify. All this regardless of immigration or documentation status. The money, according to the program, will go directly to landlords or utility companies. Gonzalez Avalos, who had set up a GoFundMe account to help undocumented families several weeks prior, says she and the other participating nonprofits never once doubted Minnesotan kindness.
We believe that Minnesotans are kind, are generous, are humane, and care about one another in only ways that Minnesotans do.
The GoFundMe, which is still active, has now pivoted to help undocumented families who live outside of the city of Minneapolis who may have been hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic.
Undocumented people are members of mixed status families, that they are neighbors, our classmates, our daycare providers, our nannies. It is at the same time unfair to look at people's humanity through their labor and through their work. But I think this is an important time for people to pay attention.
That program that Sharon talked about from Mayor Frey in Minneapolis that was announced last Friday, we're still waiting to hear how families might go about getting that housing help. In the meantime, something similar happened in Chicago today. Their mayor, Lori Lightfoot, has also declared something similar in that city.